this afternoon's session, Building Personal Networks and Creating Community. This is a hybrid session, so we are offering this to others who are signed on. Lynne Fogel is our presenter. Thank you, Lynne, for being here. She is a parent of a 21-year-old young woman with cerebral palsy and the founder of CP Parent Columbus. Lynne serves on the Parent Advisory Committee of the Children with Medical Handicaps program at the Ohio Department of Health and has worked as a family support specialist for Ohio Family to Family since 2016. Thank you, Lynne. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Susan. And I will say my colleague, Amy Clawson, who is the family support specialist in Northern Ohio, was to be here co-presenting with me today, but she is under the weather and could not make the trip. So unfortunately, you have to listen to my voice the whole time. Hopefully that won't put you to sleep. So thank you, Susan, and good afternoon to all. Welcome to our presentation on a workshop series for families about building a personal network. Ohio Family to Family rolled out this series this year, and we are excited to share the idea with you today. We hope that you will find this to be worthwhile to the families that you work with, and will promote the workshop to them. We offer it virtually via Zoom, and we are planning to hold the series quarterly moving forward. To start things off this afternoon, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Ohio Family to Family Health Information Center. Anyone here heard of us? Okay, good. We are parents who have children with special health care needs, supporting other parents so that they do not have to make their journey alone. Ohio F2F provides free one-on-one support to families across the state. That can involve helping them with navigating healthcare systems and settings, access to community resources, transitioning to adult care services and providers, and more. We also present free training for families and professionals just like this one. And we engage in advocacy efforts regarding policies that impact children and youth with special healthcare needs. Please connect with us on our website and our Facebook page to learn more about our work and helpful resources. All right, let's dive into building a personal network. After we put together this workshop, we did a trial run of it to get some great feedback from some of the parents who are on our F2F Advisory Council. Not very far into that presentation, it became clear to us that our attendees didn't really understand the concept that we were trying to illustrate. So we'll take a minute right now to clarify that for you. When we say building a personal network, we don't mean finding other special needs parents or a team of subject matter experts who can help you find information and resources. Because most parents do that already. They get in online support groups or in-person support groups. They even do it in the waiting room at therapy. Parents are pretty good at connecting with other parents who get it. But what we do mean is an actual physical group of people who care about the person with the disability and their family, and who are willing to help out in some way. Maybe they've offered to help in the past, but parents didn't know what to ask for or how these people could help. That feeling of nobody knows my child like I do, and nobody's ever going to take the same level of care or could meet their needs, that's a really strong deterrent to asking for or accepting help from well-meaning individuals. Or maybe people haven't offered to help because they just don't know how you do it. How often do special needs parents hear that? And they can't imagine actually caring for the child with such intensive needs for a day or even for an hour. So 2 important facts are key to successfully building a community of caring individuals around a person with a disability. 1, once you get to know that person, you become comfortable around them and it's easier to become a source of support for them. And 2, you don't have to be a hands-on caregiver to be an important part of someone's network. So network meetings also have the purpose of putting many heads together to find more and better solutions to problems that the individual is having or goals they would like to achieve. So you can be an important part of someone's personal network simply by showing up and offering your personal knowledge, advice, or connections for the benefit of the individual and their family. We've encountered various sources of inspiration along our way to compiling this workshop. The folks at the Texas Network Connections created this really great video of some families who have actually created their own personal networks, and we have permission to share that video with you today. It does a really great job of illustrating what we actually mean by a personal network.
The biggest fear for parents of children with disabilities is what happens when I die. We all worry so much. There'll be no one there to really oversee, to advocate, to fight for, and to care in that way. We all build networks informally through life, but sometimes a person with a disability has a hard time building their own community. And so this is the intention of working toward building that community.
We realized that it was really hard for us to figure everything out on our own.
Having a child with a disability is tough in itself, but planning everything that's supposed to happen with her and to her is overwhelming sometimes.
We're wired for connection as humans. And I worry about his ability to get out there in the world and have enough people around him of his own choosing.
Because parents are by and large doing it all themselves, that means that the kids are around their parents an awful lot. Now that Maverick is 18, he does not want to be around his parents all the time. And I don't think he wants us to be setting up a system where he has to feel like he can't live without us.
A personal network is like an extended family. It's a little group of people who commit to being involved with that person and caring about their quality of life.
I like to call a network a project, because you think of a project as something that you're not really quite sure where it's going to go. And it's something that we're all working on together, and we're figuring stuff out together.
As Brenna turned 18, we had to start worrying about Social Security and Medicaid. So we started a network of friends and family members, friends that have known Brenna for a long time, most of her life, actually.
It was a big leap of faith for me and Steve to make that first step, to invite people into our lives to be thinking about Maverick in a meaningful way.
The hardest thing about starting a network is the courage to ask other people to help. In our society, nobody wants to think they can't take care of everything in their own life.
Starting a network for us was pretty hard, especially more so for my husband than myself, because he did not want to ask people for help or to take their time with us or to even learn all the things that they needed to learn about Brenna in order to help her later on in life.
It took me a couple of years to get to where I was going to do that ask of inviting people to come into our home to help. That was terrifying.
I think what we all have in common is that tension as a parent between wanting to help and letting go.
Who would we talk to? I mean, trying to figure out what friend would be best. Would they say yes? Would they say no?
You have to prepare for the possibility that someone will say no. And if they say no, you don't take it personally. Say, oh, they're too busy right now, but maybe they'll find another way to be in my child's life.
Over the course of the last several years, the conversation has become a little heavier. We've started to have conversations about what happens when parents aren't here anymore.
We want to make sure she has a network of friends and family that know all about her, knows her likes and dislikes, knows about her medical history, knows about her financial situation. So if something were to happen to us, they can pick up and take care of Brenna for us when we're gone.
You think this is such a big imposition, why would anybody want to join a network? But they discover that they gain so much from being in a network. They learn about that person at the center. They become friends with the other people in the network. It gives them a sense of purpose, of commitment. It comes from the heart. And so they know that they're doing something so worthwhile, that they're working for this person's quality of life.
This is part of our network, the Trabolsi family. They're our next door neighbors.
When they told us what the personal network was and asked us to be a part of it, we immediately said yes.
We've been learning about lots of different aspects of your life, Maverick, right? And all the different components from healthcare to school to, wheelchairs and equipment.
It's been a really easy, natural way to deepen relationships with people that we already had relationships with.
What I've said and continue to believe is that it's really about how to build community and be together.
So a personal network is a tool, a method of really replacing that deep care that a parent has.
Knowing that we have a network in place, that she has a job, that she's happy, that part of things that we've planned out are going very well.
Maverick's 18 now. And when I think about a network and when I think about Maverick's good life, I always think about this picture of these old men who are just friends and living their lives together. And that's what I see. That's what I see for Maverick. That's what makes me really hopeful.
So this is a win-win. It's really good for the person at the center. It brings peace of mind and support for the family. And it creates a new avenue of fun, of commitment, of joy for the members of the network. Go to the Texas Parent to Parent website, click on.
So I really like that video. I watch it over and over and it never gets old because it really illustrates so well what this concept is all about, what the benefits of it are, what we really mean by that personal network. Once we made the concept clear of what a personal network really is, we invited discussion of all the attendees of the workshop about why each of them would want to build such a network. Okay, what is your why? What is their vision of success? What do they hope to accomplish with the team that they are trying to pull together? Some of the ideas that were generated by our focus group included helping to allay a child's fears about the future, having a team of pinch hitters to step in and help in a crisis, building emotional support for the whole family, sharing caregiving duties to alleviate stress and fatigue of parents, getting past the fear or shame of having a special needs child, a whole group of people to identify strengths and struggles or to offer suggestions and insight, help with emergency planning and future planning, to start building natural supports now for when you are gone, finding friends or people with common interests for your loved one with disabilities, networking for possible employment opportunities, gathering supporters to help with fundraising. So that's a pretty impressive list, just that our focus group came up with. And that was on top of a shorter list that we had made going into the workshop, which kind of looked like this. And at this point in the presentation, we also told attendees a story that came from one of our sources of inspiration. There was a man who was a single parent and had one child, a son with really intensive medical needs and multiple diagnoses. And he had reached out to several friends and people in his life and asked each of them, if something happened to me, would you be willing to be named in my will to take over guardianship of my son? And each time he asked, he was told no, because each person that he asked was acquainted enough with his son's intensive needs that they couldn't imagine taking on that level of responsibility. And he then decided to build a personal network. And after a few years of having this group of people getting together to know one another, getting to know his son better, getting to know him better, after a few years, one of those people that he had reached out to initially, who was a part of the group, came back to him and he said, you know, now I feel like I know what would be involved, and now you can put me in your will as his guardian. We also like to inspire attendees to think about the impact that such a network can have on the process of future planning. Bringing people together to combine everyone's knowledge, expertise, contacts, resources, and more is a powerful brain trust, you might say. And the results can have a powerful effect on the life of the individual being supported by the network. Many parents agree that building a personal network would be helpful and impactful, but feel that they are too busy to do it right now, or that there is plenty of time to do something like this before it is really needed. We like to remind them that nobody really knows how much time they have, and that it's better to build the community around your loved one now and reap the benefits of it now. The sooner you have a network in place, the more established it will be, and the better off everyone will be when the day comes that they need to step in and take over, because you are no longer here or no longer able to do what you've always done. Once our group understands the concept of a personal network, its potential impact, and why it's important to do it now and not wait, we then focus on how to go about building one. A key resource that we share to help in planning how to create a network, and also for the network to use in planning for the future of the individual with a disability, is Charting a Life course. And I've been to 2 sessions this morning, and both presenters talked about Charting a Life course. So I know you've all heard about it. All of us at Ohio Family to Family are Charting a Life course ambassadors, and we incorporate it into all the work that we do. So this training, this workshop is no exception. The tools in Charting a Life course can be used to make it easier to do things like mapping out your resources, planning your next steps, prioritizing goals, and sharing your loved one's strengths and support needs with everyone who is providing services and support to them. So let's take a look at how the framework can be used in the process of building a personal network. The first life course tool that we share is the one-page person-centered description. It features 3 easy to complete sections: what people like and admire about me, what's important to me, and how best to support me. We used this tool in a training once, and a mom got so inspired by it that she shared it with everyone on her son's team, everyone who worked with her son. She asked each of them to take a copy of the one-page person-centered description and fill it out themselves and then give it back to her. The result was a really rich, multi-layered description of her son that included things that she wouldn't have thought to write, because of course her son is a different person around those other folks than he was around her. So using this tool with your new network can have similar results. Each person in the network knows the individual in a different context and would have different things to say about him or her. When it has been completed, it can be used in many settings and to give anyone who is getting to know the individual greater insight into how they can help him or her succeed. And of course, there's a lot of SSAs in this space today. And of course, this tool from Charting a Life course is already built into the OISP. So you'll be familiar with that already. The Integrated Support Star is a great resource mapping tool. It's divided into various areas of a person's life where supports can come from: personal strengths and assets, technology, relationships, community-based supports, and eligibility-specific supports. In one of the sessions I attended this morning, they talked about examples of what can go in each of these categories. And it was mentioned that there is a split star version of this form, so you can divide things into what we have now and what we need to look for and acquire and seek. Filling this out can clearly illustrate where someone's supports are lacking, and the network can then go to work building up ideas for finding support in those areas. Too often, an individual with disabilities gets most of their support from that eligibility category. If their support all comes from parents and paid supports through the DD system, they are sorely in need of a personal network. The network itself is an example of a support in the community category. And once the network becomes established, each of its members will eventually, if they don't already, belong in the relationships category. The integrated star can be used to map out supports for a specific need. After explaining how it is used to our workshop participants, we then give them an assignment to be completed between sessions 1 and 2 of the workshop. So when we do this workshop, we have it in 2 sessions. They have to sign up for and commit to attending both, and we have them 2 weeks apart. So they have 2 weeks to complete this homework assignment, and we send them reminders, which they always say, "Thank you for the reminder. I never would have gotten it done if you hadn't reminded me to do it." They are to use this STAR tool to begin thinking about who they could invite to be a part of their personal network. This is an example of a STAR tool filled in with people who could be invited to join a personal network for a particular person. So in this, it's hard to read, I understand, but in the star in the middle where you put the thing you're considering or the problem you're trying to solve, it says who to invite to join Erica's network. So my daughter's name is Erica. I used her as an example, and I brainstormed who would I invite to Erica's personal network. Under relationships, we have some extended family members as well as friends, my daughter's friends that she keeps in touch with who have graduated from school and moved on, but they keep in touch. Under community, I've listed a Sunday school teacher, a former Girl Scout leader, a sports team buddy, and a church fellowship group leader. Under eligibility, I put SSA, teacher, therapist, and DSP. Between workshop sessions, I talked about the reminder already. We also reassure them that if they don't seem to be getting very far with filling in the star, that is okay, and that we will work on it together during session 2. And so far, we've done this. We've had 2 cohorts of this workshop so far, and each time we've had people come back with it totally filled in and ready to share, and people who came with it empty because they felt overwhelmed and they felt like there was literally no one. We have no one, and everything in between. So we emphasize that it's okay if you can't fill it in yet, we'll do it together, because we don't want them to feel like they can't come back for session 2 if they don't have anything in their star. The conversations that we have when the participants are sharing their stars during session 2, and in some cases their frustrations and fears over not having anyone to put in their star, are very rich and rewarding. In each cohort so far, families have offered words of support, advice, and encouragement to one another about feeling overwhelmed by this process, about feeling isolated and alone and not having anyone to ask about being in their network. And then families have shared their contact information with one another and said, all right, when this is over, let's get together and I'll help you with ideas for yours and you help me with ideas for mine. And guess what? They just walked away and neither one of them had no one anymore. They each had one person because they connected during the workshop and suddenly they're supporting one another. Next, we talk about the trajectory, which is a tool that encourages you to envision what you want for your child's future and what you want to avoid. Then you plot out your next steps towards making the vision a reality. Identify things that will take you in the right direction and things to avoid that will send you down the wrong path. Not only can you use this tool to outline what you want or don't want for your child's future, or what your child wants or doesn't want for their own future, you can also use it to talk about what you want the network itself to be or to avoid becoming. So it can be an organizational tool to guide the direction that you want the network itself to take. Moving on from life course tools, we've created a handout to accompany our workshop. It contains tips and tricks for putting together a personal network, who to invite and how. It even has a sample invitation that they can use, what to do at their first meeting, and how to build and sustain their network over time. We hope that it will help the workshop participants to take their enthusiasm for the idea of building a personal network and turn it into action. So let's take a closer look at some of the things that are in the handout. Here's an example of a list of potential people to invite to their network. So of course, this list from the handout can help them with their STAR homework too. They could use it to come up with ideas of people to plug into their STAR. Families may not have relatives living nearby, but there are a lot of people in the community who might want to get to know their child better and offer their gifts to help them in this way. We also talk about watching people who interact with their child and making a note of who truly engages, who is genuinely interested and caring. Parents can always tell those people who make a connection with their child. It's time to take note of those folks when you notice it and to invite them in for a richer relationship. Another thing in the handout is an actual sample invitation. It can be customized in order to ask people to consider coming to a meeting to learn about what a personal network is and to consider joining the new network that is being formed around the individual with a disability. Now, people have different styles of interaction. So some people may think of a list of people they want to invite, adapt this invitation, and then send it out to all the people. One of my colleagues who helped me put this together said, oh gosh, I would never do that before I reached out and personally talked to the person about it before I sent them the invitation. And I said, well, for some people, reaching out and personally talking to them about it is like so overwhelming that they wouldn't ever get around to it. And so then they can just send the invitation. It matters, you know, what your individual style is and what you're comfortable with, as far as connecting with people and making the ask. Okay. And the thing is to keep in mind when you're inviting them to come to this, and the initial meeting is not the first official meeting of the new network. It is a meeting to learn about what this whole thing is all about and to give you more information so you can make an informed decision about whether or not you'll accept the invitation to be a part of the network. Also included is a sample agenda for the first meeting of a network. We encourage families that when they're talking about what a personal network is and why they are creating one, they should describe the network as something that will be a positive experience for all the participants. So instead of just asking people for help because they're feeling needy and overwhelmed, they should learn to describe their child in positive terms. Instead of saying, Erica needs help eating, dressing, and in all life areas, explain what people will learn from being with Erica about nonverbal communication, about living in the moment and her great sense of humor and unconditional love. They should share their concerns for the future and describe how they want help to create a good life for the individual with a disability. People who are invited to join a network might think they don't have very much to offer at first, but this introductory meeting is a good time to share how you, the parent, feel that they can contribute. The parent can talk about what assets they feel each member will bring to the group. It doesn't have to be a willingness to share daily caregiving duties, as I said before. Someone with a legal or financial background or with marketing or planning skills can be a really valuable member of the network as far as their knowledge and advice and connections. After this initial meeting, the family should let attendees know that they will follow up with them about whether they would like to join the network. Many other points that are made in the handbook illustrate how the whole point of a network is to spread out the responsibility of providing support to the child. So parents don't have to do everything to make the network itself happen. Unless they want to fill a particular role, someone else in the network could host or facilitate meetings. They could take notes and communicate with the members about network activities. Someone who spends a lot of time with the child, like a teacher or a paid caregiver, could also help the parent educate the group about that individual's support needs. So in our focus group, when we were testing this out, one of our participants said, I am just exhausted. I'm exhausted being a parent of my child with these intensive needs. And I can't even if I did think I had the energy and the creativity to invite these people and to bring them together for this meeting, like I just don't have the energy to start educating them about everything my kid needs in order to make it through their everyday. And so that's when we said, you know, your kid spends a lot of time at school with their teacher. And maybe that teacher would be willing to come and be a guest speaker at your network meeting and to help you share with all these folks the care that your child receives every day, because you know they know a lot about what it takes to take care of your child too. At this point, we typically invite discussion with the participants about when they think about building a personal network, what barriers immediately pop into their mind. And this question about what are your barriers usually unleashes a flood of doubts, which we are then able to discuss and sometimes alleviate to some extent. Some of the points brought up by participants included hesitation due to problem behaviors and not wanting to bother other people with the family's problems, the fear of getting told no, and not wanting to add to the pain, so to speak. One parent said that her own extended family wants nothing to do with her child, and that's been hard enough to deal with. And so the thought of reaching out to friends and acquaintances and possibly getting rejected by them as well was really scary. Some family members have trouble even talking about the disability. There could be cultural barriers that are getting in the way of accepting the disability and then inviting others in to see what kind of a life you're living and what kind of care they require. Distance was also mentioned as a barrier. Someone said, my best friend would love to help me, but she lives far away, many states away. And there's no way for her to really get to know my child being so far away. Fatigue was mentioned over and over and over again. Caregiving is exhausting, and the thought of having to teach others how to do it is more than they can handle. So after working their way through it, and we've done it twice, here are some of the comments that we've received in the evaluations from the workshops. Families are unanimously positive about the workshop and glad that they attended, regardless of how confident they feel about moving forward with building their personal networks. Over the course of doing these 2 cohorts so far, we've learned that keeping the group small and allowing the discussion to flow freely is really helpful. Families go through a lot of the same anxieties when they're setting out to do this project. And in both of our groups, they have affirmed one another's feelings, assured one another they're not alone in their fears, and offered to support one another. By their request, we will be bringing everyone back together for a follow-up meeting to hear how it's going and to continue to offer ideas and encouragement along the way. What all of the barriers boil down to, in one form or another, is having the courage or the energy to make the ask. We really love to quote our friend Nancy from Starfire of Cincinnati. She said, all you need is 60 seconds of outrageous courage to make the ask, to invite someone in to be a part of your child's life. As the Texas Connections video said, be prepared to get some no's and don't take it personally when you do. But the yeses will make it all worthwhile because your child will have a personal network of mentors, advisors, chauffeurs, teammates, coworkers, pen pals, cheerleaders, and friends. And that is what we all need to live our best life. This is contact information for myself and my colleagues through Ohio Family to Family. If you or any families that you work with are interested in the workshop or would like more information about it, please feel free to reach out. We are all charting the life course ambassadors. If you feel like they would benefit from just working through some of the life course tools, and even if they're not at a point where they feel like they're ready to build a personal network, we can do that too. We work one-on-one with folks to work them through the tools and help them figure out how they can be applied in the best way to their life. We encourage you and everyone to follow us on Facebook, where we post dates and registration links for all of our trainings, including building personal networks. And we hope that you'll refer families in your county to us, either for this topic or any other needs they may have trying to navigate systems in Ohio, DD systems, healthcare systems, education, and community resources as well. So thank you for joining me today, and I can take any questions if anybody has them.
I have one.
Okay.
Are you conducting the workshops in person? Are you trying any virtually?
We are doing them virtually only at this point. And so far we have gotten families from all over Ohio to join each workshop. And so those connections that were made were ones that they probably never would have encountered one another in person because they live so far away. And so that was another benefit to that. We do have 2 more workshops scheduled for this year, and we're planning to do them quarterly. If we get feedback to lend us toward it, we might consider trying to do something in person next year.
And so where is that information in terms of the ones that are coming up? Where would people find out about that?
We do post the flyers and the information on our Facebook page. We're in the midst of revamping our website. It should be on there at our old website, which is ohiof2f.org, but that URL, actually that's fine, because once the new website comes up, it will get forwarded. So if you go there, it'll take you to the right place. So.
Did I also see it on the Family Resource Network? Was it on that calendar as well?
It should be, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Family Resource Network of Ohio, frno.org, I think. Okay.
Yes.
Other questions? Okay. Help me thank Lynn for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn.